Because Matt couldn't get him to play. He was a great recruiter, though.
Yeah, so I think it's the same situation here. I think when it's all said and done, Peyton and Oladipo are going to be tremendous defenders in the system. He's going to get Vooch to play defense, but I think it's going to wear thin very quick. Zach, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first off, great recruiter, bad coach. Kind of sounds like Butch Jones in Tennessee football after that tough loss to Florida on Saturday.
Oh, man, go Gators.
Go
that
Gators.
was beautiful.
But on Skiles, and I wrote this back when it was rumored that he was going to get hired, I thought it was a perfect fit. And, look, it's only going to be, a 2-3 year stopgap until they can get their guy. But there wasn't a long-term coach out there. Tom Thibodeau got fired, a couple days before, but was Thibodeau really interested? Mark Jackson was available. Was Mark Jackson actually that good of a coach, or was it a matter of the fact that they had some really, really good young players that were better than what the Magic have? Let's be real here. The Warriors had better young players than the Magic have. I think Skiles is going to come in. This team needs an identity. That's what they need, and that's what they're going to get with Skiles. And he's going to get them on the right track, and then they'll get their guy. Maybe it's a name we've thrown around a couple times. Maybe like a Kevin Ollie. You get your college coach or something like that to come in, and then maybe they take you to that next level. So I think that is probably the best move that the Magic made this offseason in getting Skiles. And, look, it's going to be tough still because I have them pegged at about 32 wins this season. Look, they're going to be better, but they're still extremely young. Look, I know they said they're not going to use that as an excuse. They're going to use that to their advantage, blah, blah, blah. But until I actually see it on court, I'm going to be a little bit – I'm going to hold back a little bit on it.
I got you. So real quick, guys, while we're on Scott Skiles, first person, what NBA record does Scott Skiles hold?
30 assists in the game.
Right?
Look at that. Yep, everybody at the same time, essentially. Look at it. We got some NBA heads in here.
Well, you know what? We have one other opinion on this one. He is a writer at the Rim, at the Hive. Actually, he's also been a guest on our show before too. He's going to help us out for the last half hour here on the show. Our good friend Chris Barnwell, who covers the Charlotte Hornets. Chris, how you doing, my friend? Long time no speak.
I'm doing well. Yeah, it has been a while. How are you?
And for those who don't know, Chris was one of our original guests when this show first started, like back in the dark ages. For some folks, they call the Atari days. But when the show first started, he was one of the first people to say, "Hey, I want to do the podcast." So Chris is kind of like one of the original OG members of the show. Chris, your thoughts on Scott Skiles and the Orlando Magic? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm kind of somewhere in the middle between I hated the hire and it being the perfect fit. I didn't like the hire, but I felt that the Magic were just kind of stuck in a situation where they had to take him because, like Zach said, there weren't very many better options out there. I personally wanted them to go after a guy like Alvin Gentry, but Gentry was obviously going to pick the Pelicans and Anthony Davis over Oladipo and the Magic. Just that's the way it is. And while Skiles is a fine coach, his history is just he goes somewhere, he coaches them for 3 to 5 years, and then he gets fired. Like, that's just kind of the expectation. Maybe he can buck that trend finally in Orlando, but until he proves us wrong, that's probably going to be the way it is.
Here's my thing with Gentry. I'm not a big fan. You look at what he's done. He took over those D'Antoni Suns teams. He had a decent year, and then they really fell off a cliff. He didn't have much success in his other coaching jobs either. I worry about the defense that he's going to run with that team. Look, he would have made the Magic offense a billion times better, which would have been huge. But if you can't guard a piece of paper, then it doesn't really matter. So that's the one thing that worries me about Gentry. Maybe he'll be good with Anthony Davis because he's got the third best player in the league and my pick to win MVP this year, going on record with that. So, that's just my feelings on Gentry. I don't know what you guys have to say.
To me, Alvin Gentry is kind of like it's that used car salesman that's bounced around from the dealership to dealership and ends up going back to the same dealership. He leaves for 6 months, he goes to another place, he comes back, he goes and comes back, kind of like a stray cat. It's one of those coaches you're never going to get rid of. he's going to be around until he stops coaching. He's coached pretty much everybody from Grant Hill and everybody else. So, breaking news. Actually, Tristan Thompson and the Cleveland Cavaliers failed to agree to a contract. Yeah, we kind of figured that was going to happen. He wasn't going to sign long term. And long story short, if Cleveland would have done this, they would have, they've been shotgunning themselves. Nate Duncan explained that a couple weeks ago. $4 for every dollar over the cap after a certain number. So Tristan Thompson's deal would have probably been about $300 million before it's all said and done. And not even LeBron James is worth $300 million. So I'm not paying Tristan Thompson nowhere near that. Guys, we're going to play a game called Rapid Fire. We're going to pretty much preview the Southeast Division for the last, like I said, 30 minutes of the show. But we're going to leave out the Orlando Magic. So here's how it's going to work. Each of the four guys on the panel are going to take one individual team, and I'm pretty much going to play, Magic Johnson here. Zach will be handling the Washington Wizards. Paul will be handling the Atlanta Hawks. Mark will have the Miami Heat, and since Chris covers the Charlotte Hornets, he's going to take care of the Charlotte Hornets. So I'm going to start number one. If you're watching on NBA League Pass, in which I'm a member of League Pass, and I've never watched this game before, for example, who is the one guy to watch on each team? Mark, who's the guy to watch in Miami?
Oh, you got to start with Dwayne Wade, and pretty much you're watching for the health. You're starting with that. If he's healthy, he's the best player in the division. So, it really starts with him. It starts with the health. If he's on the floor and he's healthy, he's going to be a great player.
Chris, I'm a Hornets fan. Who's the guy to watch for in Buzz City?
You should know the answer already. Michael K. Gilchrist.
Thank you.
I disagree.
He's young. He's budding. He's a potential defensive player of the year. He's the second best perimeter defender in the NBA. His offense is kind of getting there. He's athletic. He has chase down blocks. Al Jefferson's post moves are fine. Kemba Walker's handles are fine. Kid Gilchrist is the reason to watch the Hornets.
Interesting. Zach and Paul over here about here shaking like the Ultimate Warrior in wrestling on the ropes right now.
Hold up, Danny. I think MKG is the most exciting player on that team. Look, I agree with Chris. Kemba's handles are great, but MKG does a lot more. Kemba might hit that step back and get everybody oohing and on, but MKG is going to go and dunk on somebody, or he's going to chase somebody down, and it's going to be fantastic. So I'm going to take MKG all day.
That's what we're looking for, a player to watch, like excitement, or a player to watch as in most valuable?
For me, it's the player that if you've never watched the team play before.
Yeah, he's the most athletic.
I mean, or the guy that under the radar guy. So
yeah, Al's boring. I mean, I was going to say he's the most valuable, but he's boring.
All right, Paul, you got the Atlanta Hawks. Who's your guy?
My guy to watch for the Hawks is newly acquired Tim Hardaway Jr.
Interesting.
Yeah, the reason I'm going with that. Yeah, the reason I'm going with that, and because we just made it a point to say the person to watch, not necessarily most valuable to their team. This kid's a gunner, and they're that's something that they haven't really had in Atlanta. You got Kyle Korver. He's really just going to shoot threes. I mean, he's a gunner, but you know what he's going to do. If they let Tim Hardaway fly, like they let him do what he wants to do, he's going to be pretty exciting because the rest of those guys are kind of blah, So I'd say if you're going to talk about somebody exciting to watch for them, it's going to be him. The rest of them are kind of boring.
I would have said Harry the Hawk.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
You don't get excited about Kyle Korver running around the screen?
I no, and we're not going to take my thoughts on him being an all-star last year because they're kind of derogatory. So
yeah, let's not go there.
That play of him moving completely out the way when LeBron James was coming down for the dunk. I was just like, that set it off for me. I was just like, why is this guy even in the game at that point?
I actually saw a clip later on that said LeBron did a pass fake, which is why he ran over. But it looks like he's running away from LeBron. And it's just the greatest clip in the world.
It was a great clip, but yeah, it just is a testament of him as a player.
I disagree with Paul on Tim Hardaway Jr. Couple of guys, Sir Foster, their Oregon player.
Nice.
He's probably the most valuable for them.
Knows Oregon player.
Sir Foster. Sir
Yeah.
Foster is a show in and of itself inside of a game.
Okay.
But the actual player, Jeff Teague.
Yeah, he's exciting a little
Paul's
bit,
favorite.
I guess. Yeah, but I'd rather see Tim Hardaway gun it 40 times and make 2.
Zach, your thoughts on the Washington Wizards?
I mean, is it really a debate? I think
I think it's a little easy.
It's pretty easy. It's John Wall.
Yeah.
Probably the 4th best point guard in the NBA. So
it's a fair assessment.
Give me John Wall every day. I'm going to win a bunch of games with him.
All right, guys, before we go into a break real quickly, so let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of every team in the division. So basically, you guys are going to give me one strength on each of the teams and one weakness that you guys need to, for those who don't know or cover these teams or watch them, what's going to see in the 2015-2016 season. So we're going to start with Chris. The biggest strength and the biggest weakness of the Charlotte Hornets.
Their biggest strength is their defense. They've had a top 10 defense every year Steve Clifford's been a coach there. There's no reason that's going to change this year. Kid Gilchrist anchors that defense. They are always fantastic on that end of the floor. Their biggest weakness is shooting. They were the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA last year. And really, they got Spencer Hawes. They drafted Frank Kaminsky. They brought in Jeremy Lamb. They got Nicholas Batum. Theoretically, they should improve, but until you see it, there's no reason to think they're going to be any better at shooting this year than they were last year.
I think you nailed that.
All right, Paul, Atlanta Hawks' strengths and weaknesses.
I'm going to start with their weakness. I think it's their depth. I'll say this because you got Schroeder, and I think he's good. I think he could probably start on a couple teams. He's not, he's probably one of the stronger backup point guards for sure. I'm sorry, I don't really think there's much else. You can talk about guys like Mike Scott, which I think he's in trouble. So I don't even know what he's going to be doing this year. Mm-hmm. They really don't have much depth, so I'm going to say their depth is probably their weakness. As far as strengths, their starting five, their starting front court is definitely a strength. If Horford and Millsap can stay healthy, that's a very formidable duo. Especially when you look around the league, there's not a ton of strong front courts like Atlanta's. If they stay healthy, I think that is their bread and butter. They need to focus more on their front court and their offense.
Do you think that the loss of DeMar Carroll is going to hurt them more?
Oh, I absolutely do. I think the Hawks are going to fall significantly this year. They go from number 1 seed in the East probably to around 7-ish, 6, 7, somewhere around there. I think the Hawks are going to fall significantly.
Like I said, so Zach, real quick, strengths and weaknesses of the Wizards.
I think the biggest strength of the Wizards is their depth. They have multiple guys who can step up. We saw Garrett Temple step up and play well for them when needed last year. Their biggest weakness, I think, is coaching. Randy Whitman just doesn't do it for me, and they did just extend him, but if they don't get it done this year, he's probably gone. And we were talking about this during the last break. Maybe you see a guy like Tom Thibodeau or Kevin Ollie.
Good point.
Good point. We're going to take a quick break here on Full Court Press Radio, sponsored by SOFOELLC. Mark is going to give us his strengths and weaknesses of the Miami Heat when we come back from break in. Talk about the best starting fives in the division as well, too.
Are you looking for your dream home? Or are you looking to move out of your current home and find the home to start the next chapter of your life? Look no further. Jim Fouquet with Century 21 Rue Realty is your go-to guy to help you with all your needs. Specializing in West Orange County, Lake County, and Ocoee, his goal is to take care of you from the beginning to the end and is not satisfied until the job is complete. Stop by 401 West Colonial Drive, Suite 7, or give him a call, 321-945-6832. Jim Fouquet with Century 21 Rue Realty.
Dog bite? Visit forthepeople.com. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Big Guy here for Cycle Rider Radio, 8 to 9 a.m. on Sunday morning on 740 The Game. Brought to you by MyHomeBuildersNetwork.com. Check them out at MyHomeBuildersNetwork.com.
Half off tickets at ODealsDaily.com for Taste of Altamont. Monday, October 12th at Cranes Roost Park, Uptown Altamont. Enjoy an evening of fine food and live entertainment. $30 admission ticket for only $15. Go to ODealsDaily.com. That's ODealsDaily.com.
Looking to expand your reach and following in all platforms of media? Need a jumpstart in expanding your brand to all markets across the world? SOFO is here for you. SOFO means something for everyone, and they help expand your business through all platforms of media. Need to grow on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram? Their experienced team expands your brand and puts your business in places you would have never been before. Call SOFO at 407-607-9862 or follow SOFOELLC on Instagram and Twitter.
Millions of fans have made this show their rock holiday tradition.